I'm Laura Lenardi with Inven Global, and today I have Team Liquid Xmithie. I wanted to ask you about your past in competitive gaming, but not necessarily in League of Legends. I know that you used to play Dota and Counter-Strike, and if you can walk me through what sparked your interest in it, that would be awesome.
Well, I think since I was born, around after 4 years, my dad brought me like a Famicom as my first one, and it was pretty fun. I think I didn't really thought much about it then because it was just like fun, and then when PC started coming back into when I played, we played StarCraft, CS:GO. It was like mainly, or it's just CS 1.6. It was mainly like the spark between us like betting with like between friends, like like when you're like kids, like hey, if you win this, I'll do this and that stuff like that. And I think that's just sparked my competitiveness starting from there.
Right. And when was it that you actually started competing?
Competing as in like just like maybe just like betting for money. Is that what you're like? Probably around I was like 9 or 10 when me and my friends just go to like different towns or like just different computer shops just to ask anyone like hey who wants to play for money or stuff like that, just like play for lunch. It was pretty fun before because like you have to travel because there wasn't really much internet back then in the Philippines. Like it was all local, so we had to go to different computer shops saying like who's the best here. It was pretty funny back then.
Yeah. And comparing the scene from back then, if you can walk me through what it was like compared to what it is now.
Well, I think right now and before is like it's on a global scale now. So like it's incomparable to what I used to start with. Um, I think it's much easier to get recognition from now since there's more tools to use as to build, but that it wasn't present back then. And yeah, it's good for players like upcoming players.
Yeah. And what is the main difference that you can see as a competitive player starting back then and now?
Oh, sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. What is the main difference that you can see from playing back then and now in terms of like getting representation or getting into a team? How does that happen?
I think well the biggest thing before was just money was the biggest thing since getting sponsored by teams before doesn't really mean getting sponsored. It's usually just like, oh, the team is right there, but you don't really get any salary or even
Right.
get any gear, maybe free mouse pads. Um,
Right.
but back then it was like pretty hard to make it like even like a decent like part-time job or like even just it's pretty much just like kind of wasting time because like you don't really get much from it except for maybe like enjoyment. I think that's what it got to me before. Like just like I enjoyed playing games in general, and then when there's money added to it, it's like oh cool, like I can make this a decent livable wage. So and then now it's like pretty big. So
What was the point in your career that made you realize that you could do it professionally and not just do it for fun or for mouse pads like you mentioned?
I guess the biggest thing was like when LCS started.
Right.
I was still going to school. Before that, I was going to community college. And then when LCS comes in and we qualified for it, so we had to move to a gaming house.
Right.
So I told my mom, I told my parents pretty much like, I'm gonna drop school and I'm gonna go
Yeah.
live in a gaming house. Which that was my first time living away from my parents. So they took it pretty well actually. So like I was really surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And do you have a message to aspiring players that watch you all the time?
Um, I think right even as of right now, there's like a lot like skill definitely gets you somewhere, but I think there's luck involved like just to get noticed. It's pretty there's like a lot of really good players right now, but without the proper training and like without the proper recognition or just like even branding, it's really hard to get yourself out there. There's been a lot of stagnant like really good players, but they haven't really gotten anywhere just because I don't know, just like from unlucky reason or some unfortunate circumstances, like they couldn't get there. So yeah, like if it's just it's much easier now, but I think it's still pretty hard to like just like get up there really fast.
All right. Thank you so much for the interview. I'll see you guys in the next video.